Major news out of NASA today as the space agency has announced plans to launch a chimpanzee directly into the sun by 2030. We've got the latest on NASA's bold new mission. From The Onion and Onion Public Radio, this is The Topical. I'm Leslie Price, and if you can hear my voice right now, congratulations! You're The Topical's 1 billionth listener. To claim your prize, scream I won into your phone right now to hear how you can qualify for a free 5-day cruise on the Grand Princess cruise ship line. Offer only lasts until the end of this episode, and The Topical cannot be held responsible for any illness or death related to sailing the beautiful wide seas upon a Grand Princess line. Congratulations, and stay with us. NASA is once again looking to further our knowledge of the universe and the effects it has on life here on Earth, which is exactly why the space agency has announced it is now planning to launch a chimpanzee into the sun within the next 10 years. The science world is calling the efforts a crucial step forward in solar exploration and better understanding how species react to being deposited into the sun's 27 million degree plasma core. For more on this monumental mission, we're joined by OPR science reporter Rebecca Neal.
Hi, Leslie.
Rebecca, how does NASA plan on pulling this off?
Well, I spoke with NASA's lead on the mission, Thomas Daines, and he told me the chimpanzee will be put in a capsule that will contain several sophisticated instruments that would monitor how the animal reacts as it plunges into a burning ball of gas 865,000 miles in diameter. Here's Daines with some more details.
The heat sensors to the chimpanzee's body will provide us with real-time data about what he's experiencing as he's pulled in by the sun's gravity. As a close biological relative to our species, we believe his skin will react similarly to the sun's extreme heat and aggressive UV radiation. And hypothetically, his body will disintegrate at a similar rate to human beings.
Right, and if the mission is successful?
Hopefully, what we learn from this mission will pave the way for sending human astronauts into the sun on a regular basis.
So is the idea here that there could maybe one day be a permanent colony on the sun for humans to get launched to and evaporate in a hellish fire on a regular basis?
Well, Daines said that is a long-term goal, but first they need to monitor how the chimpanzee handles the sun's 10,000-degree surface.
Right, patience is key. Now, this is a bold mission, but not the first of its kind, correct?
That's right. A mission like this has happened before, but on a smaller scale. For example, on NASA's first attempt to land on the moon with Apollo 11, the agency strapped an unprotected duck to the side of the space shuttle.
Ooh.
The duck perished immediately upon takeoff, which helped NASA understand the benefits of being inside the capsule as opposed to outside of it when shooting toward space.
Yeah.
They've also experimented with abandoning several elephants on Mars and sending a capsule full of turtles deep into the void of space to be consumed by a black hole. These have all been instrumental to the revolutionary undertaking NASA announced today.
Definitely. What are the chances of something going wrong?
Well, space travel is inherently dangerous. As many Americans still remember, several horses never even made it into orbit aboard the Space Shuttle Challenger.
Right.
But Daines told me that they plan on testing their launch model thousands of times to ensure that the chimpanzee reaches the sun's core safely before anything goes wrong on its way there.
Does NASA have any idea who will be manning this mission to the sun?
NASA is keeping its potential chimpanzee roster under wraps right now, but sources tell me the leading candidate is a 7-year-old chimpanzee named Bobo, currently taking up residence at Lincoln Park Zoo in Chicago. NASA didn't confirm or deny that Bobo would be chosen for the mission, but cameras did catch him going into NASA's headquarters to be put in the aerotrim.
Oh yeah, isn't that the thing that twirls astronauts around to see how long it takes before they puke?
Yes, it's used to test stamina, and we have leaked audio actually from Bobo's session. Here it is.
Mark time 45 minutes, 8 seconds. Test subject in light distress.
Well, I didn't hear him puke. Looks like Bobo might have this.
Fingers crossed.
Indeed. I gotta say, I'd never thought I'd see something quite this spectacular in my lifetime. Can't wait to watch that chimp fry with my stepson Derek. He loves space. Thanks for the report, Rebecca. That's OPR's Rebecca Neal. We'll be back in a moment. Amid widespread protest against police brutality and racial injustice, many cities and states are taking action to address complaints over Confederate monuments for being symbols of slavery and racism. One of those towns stepping up to do something about it is Bedford, Virginia, where the town council recently held an overwhelming 6-1 vote to rename their town statue of Confederate General Robert E. Lee. I'm joined by OPR correspondent Marcy Hammond. Marcy, welcome.
Thank you, Leslie.
Marcy, replacing the name of the 14-foot statue of Robert E. Lee sounds like a positive development in the understanding of racism and oppression in our country's history.
Absolutely, Leslie, and Bedford council members agree. I spoke to the town's mayor, Ted Hardwick, who thinks the name change has been long overdue.
This vote is just echoing the change folks in this town have been asking for years. The name Robert E. Lee glorifies the ideals of white supremacy, so we will immediately be taking down that hateful name and giving the horseback riding soldier a new moniker. When people look at this statue, we want them to see someone who might look like Robert E. Lee, but has the name of a completely different, non-racist person and is therefore not Robert E. Lee. In the meantime, the statue will be referred to as just the statue, or John Doe.
Can you tell me what new names are being considered at the moment?
Honestly, we have so many names on the table. Mr. Man on Horse, Stanley the Statue, Jeff. These are all really good names that do not evoke racist historical figures. However, we recognize that it's important to get this right in order for people to heal, which is why we're also considering names that have proven to poll well, like Rosa Parks, or Jesus Christ, or even Spike Lee, if only because keeping the same last name would be a pretty easy fix.
Those all sound like acceptable alternatives to me, but Marcy, what do residents have to say?
Well, for the most part, everyone I spoke to seemed pretty happy with the name change. Take a listen.
This is long overdue. Why they ever thought naming a statue after a racist Confederate general would be a good idea in the first place, I have no idea.
Oh, I've always liked the name Liam. Maybe that could be the Confederate soldier's new name.
I'm not racist, but like it or not, the name Robert E. Lee is a part of our history. Instead of changing the name, we should just tell people it's a completely different Robert E. Lee. End of story.
Now, despite some pushback, the town is going forward with the name change and has even started an online competition to come up with a new name for the former Confederate statue. So far, the current frontrunner is Stonewall Jackson.
Oh, I like it. Now, Marcy, will town officials need to make any other amendments to the statue once the name is changed?
Oh, of course, but Mayor Hardwick says the changes are conditional on the new name.
While the statue will still look like Robert E. Lee and be wearing a Confederate uniform, we will be replacing the plaque below the statue that includes a new, inspiring history we can be proud of. Completely fictional, of course.
That's a good idea. Well, I'm sure everyone in Bedford is as excited as we are to find out what the statue's new name will be. You know, people have always liked my name.
You think they should name the statue Leslie?
You know, Marcy, sometimes you say things that are just so hurtful.
I just meant that...
All right, coming up on The Topical, we'll talk to, I don't know, someone who's not such a dick. Stay with us. That's the sound in Chicago, where, like in many cities across the country, federal agents have been deployed to quell ongoing protests and civil unrest. But it's not just the protesters taking issue with their presence. The Chicago Police Department is also denouncing the Department of Homeland Security's decision to occupy the city, as CPD officials say they're perfectly capable of making people disappear all on their own. OPR's Blue Lives correspondent Remy Berglund joins us now from Chicago with more. Hello, Remy.
Thanks, Leslie.
Now, Remy, the CPD has a long and successful history of agitating citizens and conducting unprovoked attacks on the city's residents. What made Homeland Security feel like this kind of intervention was necessary?
That is exactly what the Chicago Police Department is asking today, Leslie, because according to them, when it comes to making these protesters disappear, the last thing they need is help from any federal agents. Here's Chicago Police Superintendent David Brown.
To President Trump, we say we can do this all on our own. Take a look at our record. We had a warehouse set up where we were secretly torturing innocent people before you were even elected. This is what we do. Honestly, if anything, you should be asking us for help.
Sounds like they've got a real turf war on their hands.
It's definitely getting contentious here on the ground. Yesterday, I saw a protester being pepper sprayed by police only for a federal agent to just swoop in out of nowhere and toss the guy into an unmarked van.
Oh, that's got to be pretty embarrassing for that officer. Conventional wisdom would say the local officer clearly has dibs in that situation.
Right, and it's even worse when you consider CPD is trained to handle situations just like this. Superintendent Brown took DHS agents to task for violating what they see as a very simple protocol.
We're hearing reports that some protesters are spending days in DHS custody. This is simply unacceptable. We've been following these citizens for weeks, and we have a plan in place. You always book them at a precinct first and then secretly transfer them to an anonymous location. If people make a fuss about it, you release them a few weeks later. This is suppression 101, people.
Interesting. But what does the DHS have to say for itself? They're clearly wading deep into the punch bowl without knowing the flavor.
Well, to their credit, Homeland Security has pushed for more collaboration between the two institutions. Take a listen to DHS agent Lynn Favors.
We respect the independence of local agencies to torture their citizens. We're not saying that you can't do it on your own. We just want to provide assistance in these troubled times. If we've overstepped our bounds in the last few days, it's only because we were too excited to get out there and take a crack at it. But we vow to work more closely with Mayor Lightfoot to strike the right tone.
If only they could figure out a way to brutalize citizens together.
That's certainly the hope, Leslie. But as of right now, any signs of a compromise... Hey, what are you...
Remy, what is going on?
I'm the one who asks the questions, asshole.
Remy,
if you follow us,
hear me?
You're next. Come on.
Remy?
Drive!
Oh, my God. It appears that OPR's own Remy Berglund has been abducted by federal agents against his will for the crime of doing nothing more than his professional duties as an intrepid journalist. I can only imagine the incredible press our show will get for this unconstitutional disgrace. Well, Remy, wherever you are, thank you for the report. Hopefully those federal agents won't hog all the fun and save a little brutalizing for the locals. We'll be back right after this. Well, folks, even though there's a lot of other things going on in the world, a lot of you can't stay focused on anything if it isn't about you. So we're going to close out the show today by answering a few questions that were submitted by you, the listener, using the hashtag Leslie's Mailsack. Our first question comes to us from a review on Apple Podcast. Username Breathing Trash asks, "Can Leslie Price adopt me?" Oh, well, of course I can, little buddy. All you have to do is figure out what you're best at and then send a video of you doing it to opr@theonion.com. It can be anything, playing a musical instrument or a sport, just so long as it's something you're good at. And then, if I can figure out a way to make some money off of it, you'll be the newest member of the Price household. Although technically your room would be in the garage, but it's pretty well insulated. All right, our next question comes to us from Twitter user Wesley Foreman, who asks, "Do you actually answer the questions on Twitter, or do you just make them up along with your responses?" They're all made up, Wesley. Thanks for your question. And our last question today is actually our first question from our listeners on YouTube. Thank you all for listening or watching or whatever the hell's going on over there. YouTube user The Googly Smoog asks, "How do I get into podcasting if I have an off-putting voice like yours?" And here I was thinking that giving YouTube commenters an opportunity to ask us questions could lead to some thoughtful discussions about the news and meaningful insights into the world we live in. But I guess I was wrong. Thanks a lot, Googly Smoog. If you ever actually want to learn how to get into podcasting instead of just being a meaningless commodity for some big media company, let me know. All right, that's it for the Topical today. I'm Leslie Price, and it's safe to say my whole day is ruined. If you have any questions you'd like to ask about the news or the show, you can submit them using the hashtag Leslie's Mailsack on Twitter and Facebook and YouTube, even though I think a lot of those assholes should have their privileges revoked. Thank you all for listening. Except for you, Googly Smoog, fuck you. I'll see you right back here tomorrow. Hey, honey, does my voice sound off-putting to you? The news doesn't stop just because this YouTube video has. For even more on all the worst things happening in the world right now, listen and subscribe to The Topical on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts, you insatiable news freaks.